Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red. It is Saturday, the 14th of June. I'm not going to lie, where I am in Edinburgh, it is absolutely pissing it down. It is miserable as sin outside, but for everything Liverpool, we are still buzzing after yesterday's news, aren't we? I'm your host, Dave Davis, looking forward to taking you through everything Liverpool related. And it would be understandable if there's just one focus, wouldn't it? One particular signing who almost whatever happens in the transfer window now will be the best signing of the transfer window. Full stop. End of discussion. But there are quite a few other things going on with Liverpool, other exits, it's important to say, but a few additions as well that may be coming through. So let's get into it, ladies and gents. Let's see what the latest stories are this morning. And one scan here over Anfield Index, a possible centre-back / right-back might be coming in, battling with Chelsea there. Departure-wise, might be two going to the same Serie A club, if that is to be believed. So we'll see what happens there. A lot of Florian Wirtz content and a youngster who may possibly be renewing. So those are the big headlines. So let's dive right into it. And actually, for everything I've just said, we're going to start elsewhere because the big news on Liverpool site, they have put in some key dates for 25-26. Now, I didn't know this, but someone told me yesterday, officially, the new football season starts on the 1st of July. That's a factual part. 1st of July, that is when 25-26 officially starts. But even before then, there's plenty coming up because transfer window 2, if you want to call it that, opens on Monday. So, well, Liverpool's still making signs, as we know, but you can officially sign players between June the 16th and September the 1st. But also coming up this week at the same time, 9 a.m. Wednesday. The fixtures are out, people. Always intriguing, isn't it? Now, I don't know why, and I don't know how this happens, but there's always just a few people who always have these fixtures out early. Have you ever seen them? I know a few accounts that by 7 a.m. I can plot where I'm telling the missus I'm going to Anfield or not. It's amazing how it happens, but Wednesday, 9 o'clock for the official story. So those are your big ones. Another news Liverpool have mentioned, maybe it's planning ahead, but there will be no games on Christmas Eve. Now, the Premier League have issued some bollocks there saying it's more time for rest. I mean, come on. We know the Premier League milks the money. But yeah, a few key dates for your diary on that one. Other news that kind of randomly came up, and this is difficult because we don't really know how true this is. But if you go back to June the 1st, there were stories around Michael Edwards, weren't there? And Al Hilal being in for him as, heading up their operation on big money, far more than FSG would pay him. Not that that's a poor purse at all, but still. And then even last night, as is there on the screen, stories in the Saudi press that Al Hilal have agreed to deal with Michael Edwards to assume the position of sporting director. Now, a couple of things on this. Michael Edwards is no longer a sporting director, has clearly said he will not go back to being a sporting director. He has a completely different role as head of football operations for FSG, not for Liverpool. So that's the first thing to consider. The second thing you could bring into the argument is it's a big change and he's just got sort of power and where he wants it. He's in charge of the whole operation, isn't he? He's got his people in place, the Hugheses, the Wards of this world. So would he want to give that up so easily? However, there are other things just to put in the mix. We haven't found this multi-club model. Now, someone tweeted last night, he's only been back 5 minutes. I'm not actually going to give you the day. I'm not setting your homework either, don't get me wrong, but just have a look at when Michael Edwards, if you want to, came back to Liverpool. It's been a fair bit longer than 5 minutes, and Liverpool have still, despite being linked, and you probably remember the names, Bordeaux, that fell through. Then there was Malaga from Ornstein back, but that seemed to have gone quiet. Liverpool have not got Michael Edwards, the multi-club model, which he mentioned in his statement. So that's something to consider. And according to the various Saudi reports as well, rumour that it'll be a 30 million quid salary for Michael Edwards if he was to move to Al Hilal. We'll see what develops. We'll see if there's anything out on that. We'll probably find out quite rapidly. But yeah, we'll see. And there's a few saying in the chat panel, it's been confirmed. He's definitely turned it down. I've messaged a few patch journos on this and they have not got that story. So it's out there and I've double checked it 5 minutes ago. I can't see it. Patch journos haven't got it as well. So we'll see if anything develops there. But this is the one you want to talk about, in it, ladies and gents. Florian Wirtz, that dopamine hit from yesterday was just absolutely sensational, wasn't it? When about, was it 9:30, 10 o'clock? They all lined up, the big dogs, the Joyces, the Ornsteins. It all got hit, bang, bang, bang. The dominoes fell. And they were pretty unanimous in what they were saying. Liverpool have that agreement, 100 million guaranteed with 16 million quid in add-ons, which was absolutely just amazing, wasn't it? And it almost feels like whatever happens now, maybe in the transfer window, and I'm saying that, you never know, but this will be the move, won't it? This will be the move that dominates the Premier League, reverberates around Europe. I don't think we can undersell just how big a transfer this is. And even Fabrizio saying there, it's, you know, he was adamant, wasn't it? It was here we go since Tuesday, as he mentioned. People debate that, but yeah, Wirtz will travel for his medical after holidays. We know Florian Wirtz is on holiday as we speak. The transfer window opens Monday. When does he end that holiday? And Adam P, I know he'll be doing his job. Justin's younger brother Nick will also be doing his job, tracking them planes for us as well. We'll see when they take to the skies and we start to get that done. But it's exciting nonetheless, isn't it, as we wait for news around that. But probably like me, could be wrong on this, it was all about getting your Wirtz content in yesterday, wasn't it? Reading the stories, hearing the pods, the YouTube stuff, whatever it may be, however you take your poison, it was just about getting that Wirtz content in yesterday. So with that in mind, there's a couple of things that it's worth shouting out, some really good articles. And first shout out to a sort of a patch journal, Mr. Lewis Steele, which is a great one, this, that talks about, and it's free to read on the mail side, how we beat City, Bayern to this. Also, Arne Slot's key role, the teammate element, what he's told his teammates, and various things. Now, I'm not going to give it you all because you can read it yourself, but just on the article, I forgot about these. I really had. Florian Wirtz will become the 10th player to move for 9 figures, 100 million or more. You just forget some of these names, don't you? Some you'll know, like Neymar to PSG, same with Mbappe, Coutinho, of course, João Felix, you'd forgot about him, Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea, Griezmann, Jack Grealish, woof, Declan Rice, Moises Caicedo. I met a lot of those, yeah, in that area. So interesting ones. But all the bits in the article worth calling out, that how Arne Slot and Liverpool went all in. And interestingly, training facilities get mentioned as well, that Bayern Munich's are a bit dilapidated. They've been planning their overhaul for a while, haven't they? But they've paused it. The Wirtz and his family, very impressed by the AXA as well. Pep Guardiola, him possibly leaving, that came into the mix as well. And then I'll try not to snigger when I say this, because you probably see my 12-year-old brain, but there's a few good quotes as well in there. And this one from a reporter from a German newspaper, and I won't snigger, but Max Koch, he says he can control the game and the rhythm. He reminds me of Andres Iniesta, a very intelligent and creative player. He can score and assist, which makes him a complete player. I mean, Christ, that is some comparison there, isn't it? Also, from Heiko Niederer, I think it's pronounced, for Bild, he's one of the best offensive players we have had. We've had 2 of them, Musiala and Wirtz. They're both pretty special, but Wirtz is maybe even more complete now. He can do everything. He is really great on the ball, a great shooter, creating chances. He has developed really well. I mean, you can see how much Germany loves him, the German press, the German fans, as we've seen as well. Yeah, not going to give it you all because he wouldn't appreciate that, but well worth a read. That article from Lewis Steele about, and I just love saying that because Liverpool don't normally do this. We've beaten the likes of City, Bayern Munich, a late inquiry from Real Madrid, apparently, according to quite a few patch journos as well. What is there to possibly be sad about? In terms of if you're into more of the technical side, this is probably for me the best article that I've seen. It is on his Patron side, so it's not free, unfortunately, but the article from Sam Maguire, Wirtz data and pitch control. Now, it'll kill me, obviously, if I give you the sort of secrets, it's non-free, but things to call out why it's well worth a read. A lot of people are just going, oh, it's 10 or false 9. This is a brilliant article from Sam, and it talks about how it might be a different area without saying too much and where his heat maps are, where he does most of his damage, and damage he does do. And what I also like, it brings the Mo Salah element into it a bit. Now, this is my opinion. This is not in the article, by the way. It will be interesting to see what happens with Mo Salah and Flo Wirtz. I think they're going to combine to destroy teams. But Mo Salah will know what's going on. He always has his finger on the pulse, doesn't he? And he'll be listening and thinking, almost like that Michael Jordan, they're saying Wirtz is going to take over. I took that personally, that meme as we all know it. Honestly, it's just almost trying not to salivate as I talk about this, but that is the second one to call out. It is on his Patron, but the Sam Maguire article is brilliant for the data side, the analysis, really sensational stuff there. And then the third one as well, an interesting one. It's kind of Paul Joyce, but it's not because it got tweeted by Paul Joyce this morning, who actually have a guest columnist for the time, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but Philip Aarons provides his insight into Florian Wirtz. And the one thing, having read this, which I love about it congratulates us throughout it to say, what a talent you have got. This is an unbelievable player. So if you are into the reading side, if that's your poison, then definitely I can't recommend enough that Lewis Steele one that's free, Sam Maguire and his Patron article for the analysis and stats, and that one on the time side. Absolutely brilliant articles that I have devoured, inhaled already. On the other side, and maybe because I do this as well, I don't really care if you don't. By the way, if you like your Wirtz comps, unbelievable. There's various ones, but there's 3 I'm really going to call out, and they're all slightly different in the way they're devised, but this one's brilliant. And I can't show it, or we'll get shut down by the Bundesliga, but 40 minutes of Florian Wirtz destroying the Bundesliga. Have you seen this, ladies and gents? I mean, I hope so, because it's 726,000 views already. But that one where he just slaloms through and puts the Bayern defence on its arse. That one where he almost rolls it to the sideline, comes in and puts it in the... There's just the talent we're getting on this one is brilliant. This one's a bit different. The Adam Clery Football Channel one, why Florian Wirtz is worth every penny. This kind of has a little bit of... No, you put the areas he moves into is passing. It's almost one of those ones where, it slows it down at times. So the Adam Clery Football Channel one, give a plug to that. That one I enjoyed watching as well. And Mr. Bundesstream, this one, which is the one that has 1.1 million views. And I can tell why, because it is absolute erotic filth. 10 minutes of Florian Wirtz being world class. This is a brilliant one. Now, you'd probably guess some of the clips are in the same across all 3 for obvious reasons, because they're his highlights, but they are brilliant. It's just absolutely sensational. And Avo third set, who says it reminds me of a prime Hazard. Wash your mouth out, Avo, because Eden Hazard, from what I've seen, isn't even fit to lick and then tie the boots of Florian Wirtz, honestly. And this one as well, the final one, J9 Studio, 15 times Florian Wirtz shot the world. This fascinates me, ladies and gents, because a couple of things I'd say on this. Free kicks. He does all types of free kicks. He does the curler. He does that. Do you remember that old David Luiz where he used to sort of knock it like weirdly in the ball with his foot, like a side foot, and it loops and dips over the wall? He can do that. Also, the curler into the top corner. Florian Wirtz has got the whole repertoire. Honestly, just I say set some time aside because I'm not going to add up the minutes there. But if you are a medium for YouTube, etc., tons of comps there as well. Absolutely sensational. And there is various stats ones as well. I mean, there's two that I've seen this morning, but this is what I find to call out just amazing. And I'm kind of stealing this from another site, but I'm going to use it anyway. If you look at Florian Wirtz on FB Ref, compared to attacking midfielders and wingers, there's over 31 key statistics where he's in the 90th percentile or above, and also 6 where he's in the 99th percentile, just to give you an idea of how good he is compared to other attacking midfielders. And if you look at that, the names there like Doué, Elise, Cherky, Rodri, Kavicha, this is elite. Now, if you compare him to forwards as well and look at their names on the list like Marmoush, Vinicius, Julian Alvarez, praying to God and baby Jesus the Moses there. But against forwards, which we just mentioned, 40 statistics or more where Florian Wirtz is in the 90th percentile or above. And I mean, look at this. We're going down. I'm scrolling down. I think at the count, it was about 26th where he was in the 99th percentile. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in recent times. I know people have used a traditional time to say, look at when we sold Keegan and we got Dalglish, that, the British transfer record back in the day, and I accept that. But in recent times, I can't think of us shopping for an elite talent like this. And when I say that, people are going to jump up and say Van Dijk. And I think no one, I want to phrase this carefully. Virgil's a god and one of my favourite players. But did anyone actually see Van Dijk going on to become exactly what he is now, as in by far the best defender in the world? I'm not even sure Liverpool saw that. Alisson, there was expectations for the fee, but I just... And maybe you think I'm wrong. I can't think of a time where Liverpool have shopped this big. And that is ultimately reflected in the fee. It just, honestly, we should just be chuffed beyond belief with this. And it's out this morning. Did the pod with David Lynch yesterday, but we put it out this morning if it's audio. There was an interesting bit that came up in this to say, it's unusual. I asked David about the price, and he actually said that the way Liverpool are briefing it, if it's not, if there is that opportunity of player on the market for Liverpool and they think they can get him, they will go for it. Which, I tell you, this could be 2 and 2 and getting 28 million. Naturally brings us to other talents and other names, wasn't it, of who we're thinking. But Florian Wirtz is absolutely the key thing we should all be buzzing about. Interestingly, though, Fabrizio Romano had his pod, and I've seen a few others calling this out today, mentioning various moves around Europe. But there's a couple I'm going to talk about, and the first one being Milos Kerkez, that Fabrizio Romano mentions this morning that Milos Kerkez only wants Liverpool. He's only talking to Liverpool, and actually also says on his pod that Liverpool are very close to a verbal agreement with Bournemouth. Now, we said this on the transfer show for quite a while, that our understanding we've heard is this was done. Pretty much it's just a case of Bournemouth lining up their left back to get sorted, and it'll be one of those almost like a chain sale, like a house, isn't it? It'll all get done at the same time. So, thing everyone expects, Milos Kerkez to be a Liverpool player by next week, which will be absolutely another sensational signing, wouldn't it? Maybe talking about going the other way, and this was mentioned as one of our articles there, which says Serie A giants closing in on 90 million Liverpool players. There's a duo there, Federico Chiesa. And the reason I'm mentioning Federico Chiesa is, funnily enough, he was mentioned by Fabrizio Romano on his podcast this morning. They're saying he's trying to facilitate that move back to Italy. And Fabrizio Romano specifically mentioned Napoli and said Napoli are, inquired to see about the conditions for his return. But also in the article on AI this morning, Darwin Nunez. And it's interesting that today is Darwin Nunez's 3-year anniversary of joining Liverpool. His 3 years now, which is a little bit sad. And yeah, a few mentioned there, the cynical ones. They understand it, as Ant Dicko said. It's funny that the club are tweeting pictures of Nunez, says everything. It's a matter of time before he goes, and Chiesa as well. Yeah, they have been tweeted quite a lot by the club recently. But on his 3-year anniversary, there's not going to be a fourth, is there? I think we all know that. We've all seen the stories. We've all known what's coming. The only thing to mention is, and Chiesa aside, or no, actually not Chiesa aside, because it links to it, but if Napoli genuinely do, and that seems to be the reports, want both Chiesa and Nunez, you just wonder about this man, don't you? Victor Osimhen. Now, as we talk about Victor Osimhen, get it all out your system again. Do the normal thing where you'll go like, AFCON, so no. Do the normal things that people will do where they go, look at that injury record and a few games missed and all. Get that all out your system right now. I get it. I'm not disagreeing with that. We can all see his injury record there on the screen. You can all research that if you're unsure as well. We all know he's going to be going to AFCON, of course. But actually, with the transfer market just being the way it is right now, especially for strikers, as we said on the transfer show, the few analysts that we can speak to will say all to a man, the striker market's shit right now, as in the prices being quoted for those players is above what's seen as market value. So I just wonder that Victor Osimhen, I mean, nearly there's that sliding doors moment in January where it nearly happened, wasn't it? When Darwin went to Saudi and we tried to get Osimhen in on loan, but we just couldn't make it happen. Also, as other things you consider, Malcolm Billington says there, Slot and his record with his team, Ruben Peters of reducing injuries could come into the mix as well. Osimhen also, as we know recently, turned down 5 separate offers from Saudis on this as well. Wants to stay in Europe. Does he want to play for the best club in the world? And I mean, when you look at Osimhen, he's deadly, isn't he? I mean, look at his 99th percentile for touches in the penalty area, nearly 10 a game per 90. His non-penalty goals, shots over 7 a game. He is just a goal machine, as the stats bear out. And it's funny when you overlay him against any of our targets, our players, but you look at the likes of Darwin there. It's funny, isn't it? That certain areas overall, Darwin looks better, but the key ones that matter. And actually, to be fair to Osimhen as well, interceptions that we look for from our strikers for, blocking those channels as well. 96 percentile, strong in the air, rapid. And I can see the chat panel saying no Ekitike and no Alvarez, and I get all that. The problem is it's become quite clear that Isak and Alvarez are Liverpool's top targets. How difficult are they going to be to get? Nigh on, not impossible, but very difficult. I don't think there's any expectation under there. There might even be ungettable because of the fees. Ekitike, 100 million euros Marcus Kroescher and Frankfurt seem adamant on. But again, all the reports seem he wants to come to us. He's turned down that Chelsea move, so that works well. But at what price would we deal on Hugo Ekitike? Then there's Victor Osimhen, who, as I said, you can get it out your system. AFCON, injury records, 26. I get all that. But just for the now, a goal machine that is looking to move. I just sound like Lenny Kravitz here, but it ain't over till it's over. And until this is counted out completely, I am just wondering about this. I won't dismiss it. Yeah, some people think he's the best available striker. Some saying he'll definitely with us another league. I get there's question marks. I've highlighted those question marks when anyone jumps on me for them. But yeah, that story, maybe it is 2 and 2 and getting 20 million. But we'll see if Napoli do follow up on Darwin or Chiesa. So that's just one to keep an eye on from stories. Speaking of other exits, you might think, well, why is Nico Williams on the screen? Now, last season, Nico Williams had an offer from Barcelona. They tried to do it and he turned it down. He didn't move. He stayed at Bilbao. And funnily enough, Laporta actually came out and said it was difficult to deal with. And he's actually a Real Madrid fan, he said in the which is I find fascinating. And I find fascinating because also last summer, Liverpool were aware that Luis Diaz was one of the other options on the left wing. And in the summer of 25, deja vu is striking because who are Barcelona being linked with? Luis Diaz. And we know the other week that Liverpool, for want of a better phrase, slammed the phone down on them, didn't they? When they made that inquiry for Luis Diaz, mainly because we know they've not got the cash. But this is the one that's interesting because Nico Williams, and this is being reported by all your major accounts and across Europe, met with Barcelona. Yeah, and Lamine Yamal is now doing a Kirkes-style Szoboszlai thing. We're sharing him on his social media. There's a lot of expectation now, if you look at accounts, that Nico Williams will become a Barcelona player. Now, if that happens, that's Luis Diaz straight off their list, isn't it? Which then all of a sudden means Luis Diaz is probably to the two options of stay at Liverpool on the same contract or get the bag and go to Saudi. But that is it, realistically, isn't it? Straightforward as that. If, however, this move for Barcelona and Nico Williams doesn't come to fruition, doesn't fully materialise, then there's a full suspicion across Europe that Liverpool will have to brace themselves for Barcelona trying to destabilise Luis Diaz from there. So, yeah, when people are asking where did it leave Lucho, what happens? I think the next point we have to wait for is to see what happens or doesn't with Barcelona and Nico Williams, because that will define if they're moving for Luis Diaz and what Luis Diaz's options are as to whether he's likely to join the exits of the likes of Nunez and Chiesa. We will have to see on that one. Other news as well, and I'm going to plead my ignorance when I first heard this a couple of weeks ago. Liverpool are closing on a deal, apparently a 4-year contract, according to Fabrizio Romano, for their young 19-year-old centre-back, Wellity Lucky. Now, this was a story from a few weeks ago. I'll plead ignorance. I'll be completely honest on this. I had never heard of the young player before, but doing a bit of digging and just things I can show you, but also information that we've got. Young Spaniard, brought in, born 2006, which makes me feel old just saying that. From Zaragoza, can play centre-back and right-back. And from speaking to sort of various journalists, from the youth team, it's him and Nallo that have formed a very good partnership for that youth team. Now, when Nallo came on last season, it was against PSV. Do you remember he got sent off? Do you remember that one where he went, ooh, as he did that big whack between the nuts of that player trying to reach it? It wasn't the best, was it there? And there's even suggestions that this kid may have overtaken Nallo in the pecking order and why Liverpool are trying to renew him. Either way, and when I'm saying this, please don't think of this as derogatory at all, because this is the information that I've got. But it's more that, again, development for the kid. And if he does sign the renewal, there is expectation amongst many that it will well be a loan and he'll be going out, that this kid is still miles away from the first team, is what I've been told. And the reason I want to phrase that carefully is it would be no surprise if he does go on the Far East tour, just for experience, build it from there, and he's given an opportunity. But that would be more before he heads out on loan or before he takes the next step. Because my information is that talented, but nowhere near ready for our first team, which, I'm not being funny, how many 19-year-olds are going to be ready for their first team at Liverpool? I mean, even Jarell Kwanzaa, we know where he is at the moment. He's taken a bit of time. Again, it's not being derogatory of Jarell Kwanzaa. It's just the level is so high to be a Liverpool centre-back. Think who you're going up against. Van Dijk, Canate, Gomez, Kwanzaa. That's just to get in the picture. So keep that in mind. It's not being derogatory, but for any excitement around this, it does feel like a young development player still. It's important to call out there. Other things just to mention for you, and I'll go back actually to finish almost with the top story. Liverpool set to battle Chelsea in the race to sign 68 million defender from Benfica. We mentioned him before, probably pronouncing this wrong, Thomas Arroyo, Portuguese international, 23. Played a lot right back this season, but plays centre back as well. There's a lot to like with this player. Now, he's rapid. That's important to say. Nearly 36 kmh last season in the Champions League. He is rapid. Can play centre back and right back. Important to say. Now, when you profile him against other centre backs, his aerials one is the 37th percentile. So that seems really, really poor. However, if you do go down to his actual aerial duel success, I'm bloody dragging so slow. There we go. It is actually 62.2 for this season, which is maybe a little below where you'd want the behemoth to be, of course, that we've got at the back. But as an overall, it's about what Dean Huijsen was, by the way. So just something to mention there. Other things, I mean, tackles, 90, and this is against centre-backs, 98th percentile. The middle third, and this will be because he's played full-back, his carrying, but his pace, the progressiveness of his passes, that's important to call out as well. There is a lot to like, and even against full-backs, that pass completion in the 96th percentile. Against centre-backs, there's a lot to like with this player, especially as he's rapid. However, the reason that it's quoted as 68 million is that is apparently, people, the release clause in his Benfica contract. And people will be, I call it Darwin PTSD when we talk about this, saying, no, we can't be signing Benfica players, or, there's a risk. And I understand all that. And I also think that something would have to happen to the negative side with Ibu, as in he's not renewing and he moves on, for this player to come in. Possibly, I could be wrong, but another one to keep your eye on. All the patch journos to a T still saying Liverpool will spend. It's going to be a busy summer. I mean, already Frimpong joined, Wirtz about to join next week, Kirkes on the verge. Even links now with Bayern Munich, and did the other day, Kim Min-jae, I think it's pronounced. Liverpool are looking for players still. Of that, there is zero doubt. What else is on the docket for you? If you are a YouTube, if you do want to catch up with bits, we have got content pouring out for you. And even as we released it on the audio side as well, me and David Lynch talked about the Wirtz signing. We released the info with all the breaking information there as well. We had Lewis doing his season review. There's a couple of those out for you as well. All this in the last sort of 24 to 48 hours, as well as Trev doing Daily Red, talking about Robbo, talking about Wirtz, the transfer side and everything. We had the transfer show from the other night where we covered Europe and all the latest going on. It still seems mad that Leroy Sané is now a Galatasaray player, but there we go. Plenty of content for you to absolutely get stuck into. And it would honestly be zero surprise that if we're talking around this time tomorrow, there's more developments both ways, exit, links, and different bits. I mean, the only final one I really wanted to bring you was that you may have seen it yesterday, doing a bit of digging on this. Jarell Quansah is very much liked by Bayer Leverkusen. Absolutely, all the German side have reported, the British side have reported as well. However, the big thing seems to be the price that Leverkusen will be operating. I know they've just got the chunk of change from Frimpong and Wirtz, but their budget and the amount they normally spend on players, the suggestions are they value Quansah around the 35 million mark, whereas Liverpool, and we know how they do it in various reports, have quoted Jarell Quansah about 50 million quid for his services. Now, that's a big gap to bridge, 35 to 50 million, considering as well that that's already at the top end of where Leverkusen would shop normally. But there we go, ladies and gents. Plenty to look forward to, plenty to watch over Florian Wirtz compilations, plenty to read over Florian Wirtz, some sensational articles, whether it's analysis or the backstory there as well. Plenty to just enjoy this weekend. But on Saturday, the 14th of June, that was another Daily Red